Lots to talk about here. Let's go to Attorney General, where three candidates, Rob Bell, House of Delegates member, got beat by Obenshain in 2013 at the convention, should have won. Cuccinelli bailed him out at the end, bailed Obenshain out. John Adams, lawyer with one of the big lobbying firms in town, but quite the resume. Chuck Smith from Virginia Beach.
Is Chuck definitely in?
Chuck's in, but it's like, look, I tell it like it is. Rossi's not going to win lieutenant governor. Chuck Smith isn't going to win a Republican primary. He's in the race. Wonderful guy. Love having him on my show, but he isn't going to win. So you got basically Bell and Adams. And here's the deal. If it was a convention, right, I didn't think anybody could beat Bell. Right? You're not going to beat him.
Shouldn't be able to.
But it's not a convention.
Rob Bell
is
a
primary.
Chris will tell you he served with him. Rob Bell is probably one of the best organizers and data-driven guys in the General Assembly. If you meet Rob Bell, if you're in line at a political fundraiser to get a beer and Rob Bell shakes your hand, you're going to get a handwritten note from Rob Bell, because as soon as he shakes your hand, he turns around and scrawls in a notepad, "Met John Fredericks, blue shirt, red tie, nice guy." And you're going to get a note after that. I think John Adams has really come out of nowhere, similar to the Glenn Davis phenomenon, that nobody thought Rob Bell could lose. And with the change from a convention to a primary, all of a sudden, money matters, organization matters less than it did in turning your people out. And it's a new game.
I would agree with that in a lot of respects, with one caveat, and I'll back you up on that. Rob Bell is one of the most disciplined, hardworking legislators I've ever been around. When we were on the House floor, he was constantly writing handwritten notes. And one of the things you have to understand about Republican primary voters is they tend to do what they did last time, whoever's in line next, next man up kind of thing. And that had gone on up until this 2016 cycle. However, in the state cycle, I do think Rob Bell has the advantage going into 2018 or 2017 for the primaries. Name recognition for one. John Adams is getting out there and apparently doing an excellent job from what I'm understanding. But the Chuck Smith factor, I don't think Chuck wins, but does he win enough votes to make a difference in the election? That I don't know.
I don't know either, and I don't even know what kind of an organization he's got. I know that he's got some backers. Obviously, he's trying to take them, I guess, most conservative Tea Party wing. But I think you got to rethink this race now. You look at the staffs. I mean, Rob Bell, he's got the speaker lined up behind him, right, and a lot of the House. His campaign manager, Pat Truman, I believe. He's been around. I mean, these guys. You look at who's on their teams because it's an institutional knowledge game.
Well, it is. If I can on the endorsement factor, because you have two senators running in the lieutenant governor's race against the House guy, and they're all line up behind people in their respective caucuses because they need the votes, and they don't want to make them mad if they lose long term.
Right. The
question is, do those people actually work? Do they bring their people out? Is the endorsement just a name on the plate, or will they get their organizations to do the hard work and pull on the oars? That remains to be seen. Rarely does it happen. And if you get an energizing candidate, a la Bob McDonnell, who had the enthusiasm in the House caucus back in the 2005 Attorney General's race, then it can translate. If not, it doesn't translate.
You're right. It doesn't. It's kind of like empty fodder. It's on paper, but it really doesn't do anything. You get checks out of it, but like John Moss taught me in Virginia Beach, checks vote once if they're in your district.
When it can also boomerang against you. We're in this anti-establishment run right now. So if someone comes in from the outside, and it can be a Chuck Smith, let's not forget, 18 months ago, everyone laughed off Donald Trump, and he puts together a social media campaign, which is less expensive, and says, I'm not that guy. I'm not the establishment in Richmond. Send me there, and I'll shake things up. I don't see it either.
I don't see how Smith wins a primary.
I don't either. But
Chris,
the reality is, though, if Rob Bell is quote unquote the establishment, which I'm not saying that he is, because it seems to be a dirty word these days, and he has all these endorsements from inside Richmond, and it becomes an inside versus outside race, there's a dynamic there. It has to be understood.
Optics matter. Having Jill Vogel and Chuck Smith on a statewide ticket, looks very nice.
All right, so you guys seem to be saying Smith might be more of a player here than I'm giving
He's got
him
it.
credit for.
I'm going to jump in on that. Chuck Smith has run for office, I don't know, 17,000 times, and every
He's
time
the
he
Harold-
loses, he
he's
tries
the
to.
Harold Stafford
Yeah,
of Virginia.
he tries to move up every single time he runs, and I think he's going to run for president next cycle because that's the logical progression. I don't think Chuck Smith's going to raise $10,000, and he doesn't have a chance in hell.
He doesn't have a chance.
He has absolutely no chance.
I'm with Aaron on that. So let's get back. So you got, if it was a convention, I thought Bell was a prohibitive favorite. He was going to bring 5,000 people out himself. I mean, you're just not going to beat him. I mean, I saw him in the bathroom at an event the other day at the latrine, and he sent me a card. Okay, nice peeing with Hugh John. I mean, the guy's a beast.
Stop. He did not do that.
Yes, he did. No, he did. But I do have a number of cards from him pinned up all over the place. I mean, the guy's a beast.
He's a beast.
But you get to a primary,
And that doesn't matter.
and
It matters less.
it matters less. And then you get
I disagree in today's social media climate because people say more and more they will connect. This is what the Republicans did very well in Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania. They connected at a granular level. They didn't go out there and beat the bushes. They went out and talked to people in the streets. I mean, literally just sat down in the diners,
Right.
and that's what matters. And people say, Rob Bell's a hardworking guy. He writes.
He's a hardworking guy.
and that translates one-on-one when we're just sitting here talking to each
It
other.
does.
I think there's a word for this, for what Chris is saying, and I think it's availability. I think it's not just connectivity, which is important, but I also think Rob Bell, my experience with him, in addition to everything that all the panelists have said about, hardworking, studious, all of those other things,
Smart.
Rob is available. He's the kind of guy, whether he's at an event and you can touch and see him, whether it's his engagement, across sort of the spectrum of the political process. Rob is a guy that's always present, and I think that matters a lot.
It's what we used to say about Jay Katzen. If you get two Republicans together in a phone book, Jay Katzen was going to be there to shake hands. Rob Bell is that same way.
Who are we talking about? Rob Bell.
Yeah.
He's authentic. He's working hard. He's been out there for 4 years. This matters to primary voters. And that he's dominating the conversation. What Donald Trump did, he dominated the conversation. And that matters to primary voters because that's going to be top of mind. You poll them, I just thought about Rob Bell. I'm going to support Rob Bell. That's momentum in a campaign.
plus he's putting a good team together. He's got Pat Truman with him. Pat's been around a while. Pat's been, I think he was with the Eddie Whitlock campaign. I mean, he's gotten his head bashed in a couple times, but I like guys like that because they've been around the block.
The only people that I know that are advocating for John Adams have a personal connection to John. They either are part of the McGuire Woods shadow government, or I know Siobhan Donovan has a John Adams sticker on her car, but that's because Rob Bell endorsed Bill Janus in that Senate primary. Bill and Rob are close friends, so she took that personally. But the people that are supporting John have a personal connection to him. The people who are supporting Rob are supporting him primarily because of what Chris said. One, we're talking about him, he's gotten a note from them, and they know who he is.
I want to make 2 points, too, to think about. Rob Bell has always been extremely close with Tom Garrett, who just won by 17 points in the 5th Congressional District. I expect there to be a lot of overlap there. I expect Tom to endorse him. I think that's an endorsement that helps because it's a recent phenomenon. He won huge. And the second thing that's more importantly, Jessica is an owner of Smoke-Filled Rooms. She purchased it the other couple weeks ago. So I think that's what gives him the race right there.
Puts him over the top.
Hashtag plug alert.
Shameless
Well,
plug.
let's also remember who his friends are at the congressional level. Rob Bell served with Morgan Griffith. Rob Bell served with Rob Whitman. Rob Bell served with Scott Taylor.
Barbara Comstock.
Barbara Comstock. I mean, he's got some people out there with some serious chops in the infrastructure of the Republican primary voters. That said, John Adams still has, while it's an uphill climb, is still making a very good impression on people, and that is something to be considered.
He's getting his name out a lot more than I thought he would be able to do.
I think he's doing, for the way this is structured heading into the campaign, I think he's done an excellent job so far.
I think you guys are way underestimating John Adams, and I know you called it the McGuire Woods shadow government, which I've also stolen. I've stolen 4 things today: work lash, diaper pins, Rova, rest of Virginia, and McGuire Woods shadow government. So you give me 4 things. That's why I want to come back. You guys are good. So the McGuire Woods shadow government.
I think
For
that
our
shadow
listeners-
government line was actually coined by a certain liberal columnist. So just
Julian, I didn't think you were liberal.
I'm not talking about myself. I was never a columnist. I'm not referring to myself.
But I'm just so our audience knows John Adams running for Attorney General. He's a McGuire Woods lawyer, and or something. And McGuire Woods, one of the biggest lobbying firms in I guess Virginia. So just
With
so
also a
everybody knows.
substantial legal practice.
Yeah, legal practice.
And I don't know if he's in the lobbying side or the
He's
legal
not.
side.
But let's get to John Adams. I mean, he's like Bell. He's put together a very formidable team. Nick Collette's his campaign manager. Nick ran Obenshane's campaign and is a very savvy guy. He's very savvy, so he's got top-notch talent there.
He's got a lot of the Gillespie folks on board from last year.
Got a lot of Gillespie. I mean, he's running really as a constitutional conservative in the race, and he's got a great resume. But here's where I think he's formidable in a primary. I mean, the guy is telegenic.
You're right.
He makes a unbelievable stump speech and presentation.
He's a veteran.
He's a veteran. Rob's kind of dry. Rob's got all the Ozies, but this guy's new, fresh, different. And, one of the things that one of his people said to me, and it's kind of stuck with me, he said, why would you vote for the guy that lost to the guy that lost to the guy that should have lost? If you play it out, I mean, it's a pretty funny line. So, having said that, Adams is going to raise a lot of money. He's going to go on TV. He's a new, fresh face that's very telegenic with a great message. I think he's a very formidable player in this race.
How has Rob Bell done at fundraising?
I don't know. He's
a beast.
He's a beast, isn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Last time
The speaker used to bring him in the House caucus meeting and say, "Rob, please tell these guys how to raise money."
Because that's
He
what he's
knows
going
how
to
to
have to
do
do.
it.
He's
Rob's
gonna have
got
to
like
get-
$650,000 cash on hand as
Yeah.
of the last report. I mean, and Adams didn't, Rob hoards money is one of it, and he's also good at raising it. I fully expect Adams to be formidable on the fundraising front, but I still think Rob's going to outspend him.
Although, if I may harken back to a comment Chris made a few minutes ago, though, and a comment you made as well, money isn't everything. And again, the president-elect may be a unique candidate, but we have a very recent example on a national scale of money not, pardon the pun, trumping everything.
And I think one of the keys in this race for primary voters is, can we win, and what is it going to take to penetrate the Northern Virginia market? Who's going to sell better in the general election?
Adams.
Republicans have not.
Adams.
Well, that's to remain to be seen. But the key for him to make the sale is say, look, I can win in Northern Virginia. And without saying anything bad about Rob Bell, if he can make that case, and you have, let's say, a Gillespie, Vogel, Adams race running in Northern Virginia, can you chip away at that sizable advantage they have coming out of this loss for the Democrats?
The antipathy for the incumbency and the insiders is less, I think, in Northern Virginia. And in a general election, Rob Bell has done a lot of good in the General Assembly through the Crime Commission, through the courts committees, in terms of increasing penalties for violent felonies and putting people, dangerous people, sexual predators in jail. I think he's got a lot to run on there in the suburbs to bring home some of those soccer moms and security voters.
Well, what if John Adams goes, yeah, I'm for decriminalization of marijuana, which polls up in the low 80s, and gets millennials out? And Rob Bell's going to do what?
They're two great candidates.
Well, Rob Bell's going to have a problem with that issue,
He is.
especially in the general, because Tommy Norman just came out for it.
You think there will be a bill filed this session?
Yes. Yes.
You
Someone's
talked
going to
about a
file
great
it.
time to file it during a House election year.
But
So
someone's
you
going to file it.
look at cash on hand right now. Rob Bell, $816,000 cash on hand. That's a lot of money. John Adams, $435,000. So he's got a 2-to-1 advantage over him. But it is early, right? Also, Rob Bell can't raise any money once he gets to January.
But
Adams can.
you also have to spend it to win. It doesn't matter if you spend your money lousy in an election.
Right.
If you're not spending it on staff and you're not going to every meeting of every Republican a la Jay Katzen, you're losing.
Right.
It's no longer a direct mail, swamp them with mail, you're going to win, put up some TV advertising, in key markets and that kind of stuff.
All right, so Rob Bell's going to the General Assembly. He basically is unavailable, December to whenever it ends, right?
But he could also
days.
get a lot of good media through the General
Second-
Assembly.
Is this the long session or the
Short
session?
one.
So it ends in the end of
Late
March?
February.
Late February.
February. So he's got 2 months. I mean,
But he'll be out every night after session ends, going to meetings and ham dinners and everything.
All right, so he'll
And on
be out
weekends,
there.
going to pancake breakfasts, everything.
All right,
He'll be
so
out.
who's the favorite right now, Aaron? Who's the favorite? We'll pick in a minute. Who's the favorite to win right now?
Rob Bell.
Why?
He's got the money advantage. He's got the experience. He's been the sponsor of a number of bills that conservatives like, the Bonetta bill, the Tebow bill, stuff like that. And he's a known quantity. And he's the one with the money advantage that has the ability to eat through the governor's race noise.
Agreed.
Julian Walker?
For the same reasons, Rob Bell has toiled in the fields for quite some time, and it seems like he is in the pole position.
All right. So Walker and Aaron say he's the favorite. Chris Saxman?
Prohibitive favorite at this point.
Prohibitive favorite?
Prohibitive favorite.
Chalk.
On name ID and fundraising, when he has cash on hand, and what he will do during the General Assembly session. Plus, he has not lost any chops with the conservative voters in the primaries.
Rob
Andrew?
Bell.
Rob Bell.
But it'll be interesting to see, John, the advance coming up in December. That's really where you're going to see this splash and what kind of reception they get and reaction they get from the folks who are showing up.
Yeah, well, if you go to last year's advance, Rob Whitman stole the show. I mean, it was the Whitman coup of all time. Edwin walked in there, thought he was going to get coronated, and Whitman stole it out from under him. Okay, let's go around the table. You told me who the favorite is. I would agree. I think Rob Bell's the favorite. If the election were held today, pick a winner. Let's go back the other way. Start with Andrew.
Rob Bell.
Rob Bell.
Chris Saxman.
Same.
Rob Bell.
All right. I think.
In the general?
Yeah. No.
Oh, okay. Just the primary.
Primary?
Yeah, Rob Bell.
So you all say Bell.
Yes.
I say too close to call. I think this race is going down to you're going to be counting votes at midnight. I think you guys are way underestimating Adams, and I think people are going to be looking for something different. Not to take anything away from Rob, but Adams is out there and he's going to go on TV and he's got Nick Collette, and I think he's going to be very formidable in this race. Plus, he's got Janikowski with him. Guy's on a roll, right? I mean, he won with Siobhan Donovan.
He did, and he
won
brings
with
in the money.
He brings in the money. I mean, the guy's on a roll. And I guess the guy you don't want to hire is Chris LaCivita. He's not doing very well, is he? Let's talk about that for a second.
I guess him and Ken Cuccinelli were crying election night.
Oh, my God. When was the last time my friend LaCivita won a race?
Well, I think you're referring to Virginia races. He's won plenty of races outside of Virginia.
that's true.
He won the Pat. He won the Pat.
And several, in Kansas.
Kansas
I think
race.
he won a race in California recently.
He just lost.
He's won a lot of races.
Race.
He just hasn't. You're talking about recent Virginia races, but he has
a
a client roster around the
He actually,
country. Yeah.
to be fair to Chris, he actually saved that Kansas race.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who was that? Pat. What was his name? Pat
Roberts.
Roberts, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he had definitely saved that. In fact, they brought him into that. But he's got to get a winner in Virginia. We're out of time for this segment. When we get back, I'm the only one that said Adams, Bell, dead heat. Everybody else says Bell. We'll see how it plays out. When we get back, Virginia, U.S. Senate 18. Keep it right here.